Winter is coming, and if you're not scared yet, you better get that way quick. Beyond the Wall, Game of Thrones Season 7, Episode 6, the penultimate episode of this sadly shortened season, and oh boy. Okay, so look, I like this episode. I like it a lot. But I'm not going to sit here and wax the car of this thing the whole way through. There's actually a lot of things that... some things that bug me, some things that maybe won't bug me depending on how the rest of the season pans out, and some things that I'm going to nitpick on. And I feel really bad doing this because I know how well this episode's been received and how much everybody is praising it. So, what to do? Because I'm going to have to talk about this stuff. You know what? Let me be clear about one thing. Pretty much everything that happens beyond the wall, I liked or loved. Most of the stuff that isn't taking place beyond the wall bugged me for one reason or another. And not just because it was cutting away from the much better, more compelling stuff, though that probably didn't help, but just individually, all those scenes, for one reason or another, annoyed me. I'm gonna start, having said that and realizing I'm gonna come back to praising the stuff that is awesome. Let me start with the stuff that I have issue with. Arya's annoying me, which is a first. I get it. From a completely character standpoint, I get it, but it is annoying to me as a viewer to see her holding as a grudge against Sansa stuff that happened 5 years ago. And I grant that, you know, that is because I have knowledge that Arya doesn't, because I know explicitly what happened to Sansa, what was happening to her at the time that she wrote that scroll, and what has happened to her since then. And Arya doesn't, not in great detail. And again, logically I understand that, but it doesn't make it any less annoying to watch her holding this grudge against her sister that, with what I know, I can't help but feel is unearned. And it also makes it all the more aggravating knowing that it's playing into Littlefinger's hands, because while I've said he irritates me in a fun way, I don't like seeing people play into his hands because that kind of makes them look dumb. I want him to progress by him being smart, not by other people being dumb. And that's kind of how it feels right now with what's going on with this, because then Sansa runs off to console with Littlefinger, and actually to a degree that seems inconsistent with how aware she was of how dangerous and untrustworthy he is. And again, I get it. I understand that she just felt like she was emotionally stabbed in the back by her sister. She doesn't have a ton of people to feel like she can turn to. That still really frustrates me because I know it's exactly what he wanted. Yeah, it's frustrating in a way that isn't fun for me. And I feel like the show may have overstepped if it was trying to make me not always be on Arya's side, which I suppose is not an unreasonable goal. I mean, what she has been doing lately has been incredibly grim, and maybe I shouldn't be as, yeah, Arya as I am. I'll grant that. But this, if they're trying to mitigate that, I think they overcorrected in terms of how she behaves this episode, and just me not liking it, not feeling it, not digging it. Daenerys is bugging me in this episode too. She's doing, and I've mentioned this before, she's yo-yoing again. She keeps seeming to start to mature and then backpedal, because she feels very childish in this, in terms of the stances she takes when talking to Tyrion. And when I look at her this season overall, like this insistence that the world is black and white, or that she's gonna somehow force the world to be black and white, it just feels like a much less mature point of view than she had not all that long ago. I mean, what was the point of all the stuff in Meereen with her coming to understand that even the slavers had people who cared about them and were dependent on them? What was the point of that scene with that guy saying, my father was a slaver, but he was a good man, but you killed him? What's the point of those scenes if the growth that she seemed to take from that is going to be negated a season or two later? That irritates me. So like I said, the stuff that isn't actually happening, above Beyond the Wall, that all that stuff bothered me for one reason or another. Of course, the stuff that's actually going on Beyond the Wall itself, pretty awesome. Pretty dang awesome. This episode did a really good job of getting these characters in positions where it's like, oh, you know, a few of them got some nice highlight moments that maybe didn't have them before. I feel like I've gotten to know Beric a little bit better here than I did before. You know, we had a really nice moment between Jorah and Jon before, you know, everything started going down. And boy, once things start going down, they go down hard, and there's a lot of tension in those moments where they're stuck on this little island with the ice around them, just surrounded by the dead. And they held up a lot, but I am surprised we lost as few characters as we did. It really was just, you know, top-knot Brother Without Banner dude. He was pretty much the only one we lost. Well, that and a dragon. But I mean, it's like I said, it's awesome, it's epic, it's tense. And as it went along, I don't want to say that this stuff was predictable, because it wasn't. I didn't call any of what was going to happen before the episode started. But as the episode was progressing, most of what happened I called 2 to 5 minutes before it happened. As soon as the Night's King went for one of those spears, I'm like, he's taking down a dragon, and I called it. And then as soon as that dragon started plummeting, I'm like, we're gonna have a zombie dragon by the end of this episode, so I called that well in advance of it happening. I called that Benjen was gonna be how Jon got out of the situation. So there's a lot of beats that they weren't really telegraphed, but they just felt like the very much the logical thing that was going to happen. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, and it was all well executed. The one thing I did not call, I was dead certain Tormund was not gonna make it alive from this. I mean, I had kind of pegged him as likely to die before, but I was dead certain as this episode went on, because he's talking about he's crushing on Brienne, and he's talking about that with the Hound, which was another great moment, by the way. And you know, he mentioned how he wants to have babies with her. I'm like, dude, you might as well be in a cop movie and say you've only got 2 days to retirement. But and I was so certain, you know, he's got almost the Jaws moment where they're like pulling him down and recovered. Man, I think he gets the tough bastard medal for this one, although Jon might take the silver on that category. And I'm also slightly disappointed that the fact that both Beric and Jon, the fact that they have come back from the dead in no way factored in to their interactions. I'd said before that I thought it would, and thinking about it, it strikes me as flat out odd that it in no way impacts anything. I mean, that you'd think that would have some relevance, and to me it's weird that it didn't, and it might end up going down as kind of a missed opportunity for me. And oh god, I'm gonna get so slammed in the comments and so downvoted on this because I'm making it sound like I didn't like the episode. I did like the episode. I like the episode a lot. But the things that are great about this episode, everyone knows what they are. Everyone is already singing the praises of all the things that are great in this episode, and I just feel like it's not the best thing ever. I actually thought Spoils of War was a slightly better episode than this was. But look, this is like a solid 8 out of 10 kind of episode. And I don't do numerical ratings as a rule of thumb. And I'm not going to start doing them, but I'm just trying to make the point. This is very good. And when it is rousing and pumping and it's great and it's terrific. And I loved the experience of watching it. It was just when it was done, I started picking at it. And I can't help it. I can't. I'm sorry. But I mean, look, the action stuff is right up there with Hardhome and with the Battle of Blackwater and the Assault on the Wall. It's right up there with the greatest action spectacles that this show has offered. So, you know, absolute props to that, and it's a great way to set up a finale episode. I'd be really excited to see what happens next. So, despite my having spent the majority of the runtime of this video pointing out stuff that annoyed me or bothered me, please don't take it to me I didn't like this episode. I liked it a lot. This is just the stuff that's stuck in my head a little bit more for whatever reason. I'm a grumpy bastard. Sorry. So those are my thoughts on the latest episode of Game of Thrones. What are your thoughts? Whatever they are, drop something down in the comments. Let's talk about it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, check me out on Twitter at Council of Geeks. Give a listen to the Council of Geeks podcast, available on iTunes and Stitcher. And until next time, this council is adjourned.